Lionsgate. How the hell did you let this happen? What's up, Universe, and welcome back to the web's first must-see comic and nerd culture show. Welcome to Comic Universe, guys. I'm one of your hosts, as always, C-Dubs. As you guys can see, I'm riding solo on this video. And guys, I just got done watching 2019's Hellboy.
Something was summoned from the depths of hell. Something that would end mankind.
And this thing you worried about, did it show up?
Oh, yes. You did.
Hellboy from Lionsgate. Directed by Neil Marshall. Yes, that Neil Marshall. The guy that gave us Dog Soldiers and The Descent. So you right off the bat, with those kind of accolades, you got like, this should be awesome. And well, as always, guys, I'm going to give you the good, I'm going to give you the bad, and I'm going to give you the badass, and I'm going to give you an honest review here, guys, and tell you if it's something you guys should go see or not. Now, I know we're probably the last channel here on YouTube and here on the internet to actually review this movie, but sorry, as always, like I say, life finds a way to get in the way. So, guys, this movie is starring David Harbour as Hellboy, obviously, Mila Jovovich, you have Sasha Lane, Daniel Day Kim, and Ian McShane. Now, that's a pretty good solid cast, if you ask me. The problem with this movie right off the bat, you know, I'm not going to, again, I'm going to give it to you in order, good, bad, and a badass, but one of the biggest problems with this film is that it's really a reboot, and it's not connected to the previous universe that's already been established, and a lot of people going into this, and probably you guys too, it's going to be really hard to wipe the slate clean and go into it with a unbiased opinion. No matter how hard you try, there's something so whimsical and special and magical about the last two Hellboy, or I should say the first two Hellboy, Ron Perlman. You know, there's just something so special about it. Even the worst moments in those movies are special in comparison to even some of the best parts of this movie. So I understand when people are given this review and they find it really hard to separate. Now, they're going to say, they may swear up and down that they're separate. They are separating, but I'm telling you, it's really, really hard. And there's going to be parts where you are going to be able to separate and be like, okay, all right. And then there's going to be a moment that happens that's kind of the same scene, or they're trying to convey the same message from the previous movie, and you're going to be like, oh, that last movie did it better. So it's very unfortunate that this is happening to this franchise. Because, to be honest with you, outside of Marvel and DC, this is really the biggest brand in terms of comic book movies that I think have been around, you know, that have been to somewhat of a degree of success, if you will. So it's really sad to see that this franchise is this far, has gotten to this point. So with that being said, I know it sounds like I'm completely dumping on this movie, but let's get into the review. So normally what we do is we try to give you a non-spoiler and then a spoiler review for the most part. Every once in a while we just give you a full spoiler review. This time I'm going to try to do my best to break it down into non-spoiler and spoiler, because I don't think the other guys are going to see this movie. They weren't too impressed. And I think maybe DPZ will, but it might be a couple of days or weeks down the line. And if you really want to know his view, you know, his thoughts on the movie, if he ever gets around to seeing it, let us know in the comments below. Otherwise, I'm just going to kind of give you a two-parter here, you know, and let you know when I'm actually going to get into spoilers here, guys. So, first and foremost, the good. David Harbour, man, he does a really good job. He does the best that he can with what he's given. I know I sound like a broken record. Every other review has said that, and it's because it's true. He really does try. His personality really does shine through. If you're going to stack it against Ron Perlman, it's not going to stack up, let's just be honest. But he does a good job with what he's given. Mila Jovovich, me being completely transparent, I hate this actress. I'm not a fan of her at all. A big part of it is because Resident Evil is my favorite video game franchise, and that movie, and it's not necessarily her fault, but I don't like her. I just don't. The best movie, obviously, I think we can all agree that we've ever seen her in is The Fifth Element, and let's be honest, how many lines does she have in that movie to begin with? So she's acting like a 12-year-old halfway through the movie, okay, and she barely has any line delivery. So it's up in the air if you want to call her a good actress or not. Just because you like the movie doesn't necessarily mean she's a great actress. So, me being honest with you guys, can't stand her. I think she's shit. I don't think she's attractive. I don't like her. But I do think she does a pretty good job. I think she takes the role really serious. And maybe, to a certain degree, maybe too serious in the movie. But she does a good job, again, with what she's given. She's believable as this evil entity. She does okay, I guess. At best case scenario, if I were to say, out of all the movies I've ever seen her in, this is probably the second best movie I've ever seen her in. There you go. The rest of the cast all do a good job. Ian McShane, he does a good job as Hellboy's father. Again, it's hard to compare the two. I think his personality may actually shine through more than the Hellboy's one, but the loving relationship between him and Hellboy as a family shine better, obviously, in the originals as well. So, with that being said, I think, again, he does a pretty good job of what he's given. He as an individual shines more than the original, but again, the family unit kind of disconnects. Again, the storyline is, I think when they read the script, they were like, this is money. And I think if I had read the script of what they tried to do here, I may have agreed. And I think all of us would agree that, like, okay, they're trying something new. They're mixing it up. They're going to add some elements to Hellboy's, lore and history and origin, if you will. And it's like, okay, cool. I might be able to get behind this. But the execution, that's kind of might be where it's up for debate, if you will. So that's really the good. Now for the bad, guys. This movie, there is like, again, I sound like a broken record because it seems like everybody has this same take. First half an hour or so of the movie, it's like, all right, not bad. I'm digging it. I can get into this groove. And then you can almost pinpoint it in the movie, and it just goes, doot, 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 whoosh, and it just derails, train wreck, dumpster fire, and you're just like, what is going on here? How did we get from point A to point B? How there's some pacing issues. They randomly just cut from one place to another, and it's like, how do we get there? And it's almost like a TV show. And honestly, I think this movie would have done better if it was a streaming movie. If this was something like a Netflix original, we may have given it a lot more credit than it's worth, Again, to some degree, even though we pay for Netflix, a lot of people feel like it's like they're getting a movie for free, so there's not really much involved in it. And let's be honest here, just because you go out and you go see this movie, especially like, for instance, me and my wife, we went and saw it. The theater that's closest to our house is like a dine-in theater, so you're almost obligated to eat dinner there too. So again, me and my wife, we dropped about $60-$70 just on this movie, and I'll be honest, guys, it's not worth that price. Matinee? Sure, maybe. And I'll get a little more into that in a minute, but just with the bad, it just literal dumpster fire. The R rating, they really try to grab a hold of that, but where it's hard to say, because there's a lot of things in Deadpool since it's a rated R movie and a comic book movie, that is very forced, but Deadpool's the type of character where it's supposed to be forced. Like, it's supposed to be fourth wall breaking. He's supposed to be doing these things intentionally, dropping F-bombs just for the sake of dropping F-bombs, if you will. Where in this film, it's not a movie where it's some of the words and lingo and phrasing that the characters are saying, it just doesn't reign true. It doesn't feel like the characters. It doesn't feel like the right time. And I think there's other better choice words you could have used in certain situations. So it's kind of all over the place. So in that regard. But again, I would say if you were going to go see this movie as a matinee, it's definitely worth a matinee, maybe a popcorn and a drink. $10-$15 a person, or not a person, but $5 to $8 for the movie, another $10 maybe for popcorn and drinks. Call it a day. You'll have a good time. Don't go out and see this movie for $30 or more, $20 or more. That might be pushing it. But overall, can't say it was that bad. Now to give you guys the badass, because there is some badass to this film. And right now, guys, this is where I might start diving into a little bit of spoilers. So this is going to be a spoiler alert. Again, I don't think anything I spoil is going to ruin the movie for you. in terms of enjoyment. You're either going to like it or you're not. There's not really a middle ground for this film, to be honest with you guys. Sorry, I was just making sure my phone doesn't ring. Made sure it was on a vibrate. So, right off the bat, this movie gives us his origin again, which I don't think we needed. Honestly, I get it's a reboot, and I know the other movie had been out a few years ago, but something quick. It wasn't as long and drawn out as the original movie, and it was seen in a flashback, so it was pretty quick. Okay, but, you know, I don't necessarily know if we needed it. You know, they showed us some characters that we saw in the other film. Okay, so it's like, cool, yeah, I remember him, I know him. Little Easter eggs like that. A little bit of nostalgia, that was cool. But on the flip side, after I saw them, and after that was, oh, wow, I know them, I saw them in the first movie, or, you know, they're from the comic. Then you go, well, they were given something to do and portrayed better and not seen as such a slouch in this movie as they were in the last movie. And they did a better job in the last movie, and they seemed like more threat in the last movie. So it's like, what happened? So you get that. The budget. To my understanding, there was a lot of problems on set, and it's definitely shown in this film that there's a lot of problems. There's, again, a lot of pacing issues. Again, there's a lot of dialogue issues. But the budget, you can see that was an issue too. There were some things that they paid a ton of money for, and it worked perfectly. I forget the character's name, but there is a hog man, a boar, a pig man, if you will, in this film. He's actually a changeling from Irish folklore, where the fairies come in and they take your baby and they leave something in return that's not actually your baby. And he actually, when you touch it with iron, this is what he turned into, portraying his true form. And as he grows up, he shows that he has a hatred towards Hellboy, wants to, you know, get back at Hellboy for ruining his life, making his true form be known, so that he couldn't live his life as a human and live in the light and all the privileges of being human. So he definitely had this hatred towards Hellboy. So he was fantastic, looked good, sounded good. Voice acting was good. If it was mocap, I assume it was mocap, done well. He flowed perfectly. Okay? He was probably the single best budgeted thing in this movie. And he's actually a relatively main character in this film, where he was barely, I don't even know if I saw him in a trailer at all, to be honest with you. Another really good thing, most of the prosthetics and body of Hellboy on point, very good, done well. The right hand of Doom, it literally looks like he's holding something almost the entire movie. It looks like it's his hand shoved in something and he's holding it. Definitely, you know, Guillermo del Toro's, you know, original two movies, a million times better in that regard. Okay, so the CGI in some scenes, there's a scene where Hellboy is stung by an actual scorpion. And funny enough, when I saw that, the first thing I thought of was how bad and how horrible the budget to the original Scorpion King, or I should say Mummy Returns, when we first are introduced to the Scorpion King, how dated those graphics are. That's what it looked like. It was very bad. Super bad. And there's a vampire luchador in the beginning of the film. Looked great. So it's like, you get one good thing, you get one shitty thing. You get one good thing, you get one shitty thing. And it just was very distracting, to be honest with you. So the best part about this film, and the thing that intrigues me, and the thing is why I think anyone who would have read the script would have been like, this could be something. But it's also something you need to understand. To some degree, I think we may be past some of these stories. So, and what I mean by that, guys, is that there's a connection to King Arthur in this movie. And you get it right off the bat. You see there's the connection to it. And at first you're just like, oh, wow, that's kind of cool. But also, you know, I think society as a whole we may need to stay away from King Arthur or Robin Hood for many, many years to come. Unless you're really going to retake and retell the entire story, like make it your own, maybe make it more modern, or make it more fantastic. It's the only two ways I think maybe you can get butts in the seats to see these type of movies. And by fantastic, I mean it more like Lord of the Rings style for either one of those franchises, because I just have this feeling that people are over it for right now. And it just keeps trying to be shoehorned into thing, i.e., the last Robin Hood movie, which this was very terrible. Okay, not to mention also, the whole King Arthur and Knights of the Round Table being shoehorned into the Transformers franchise, and we saw how that turned out. So part of me goes, why the hell did you try to shoehorn it in here? Well, I will tell you, Universe, it does play out better and fit a little better here in this film franchise. So we find out that, and again, big spoiler alert here, that the lineage of King Arthur does have some lineage to Hellboy. Essentially, his mother turned out was a human, okay, that was, impregnated by this demon, but his mother actually is from the bloodline of King Arthur. So the whole thing and the way to top him off and how he actually becomes the king, with the apocalypse and whatnot, how he gets the fiery crown, is essentially if he actually obtains the sword and completes his bloodline, he will then turn bad and bring on the apocalypse. So the problem is that they had some good ideas, some good concepts, and it could have worked. It just was, there were too many parts that were just shoehorned, and we see Merlin in the beginning, and then all of a sudden he's not around anymore, and then all of a sudden they shoehorn him into a section of the movie, and then he's gone, and then he shows up again towards the end, well, at the very end, if you will. So there's it's just like, if you just would have been a little more consistent in the storytelling, stop relying so much on flashbacks, maybe it could have been a little better. But again, there was parts of me that really enjoyed the film. I enjoyed them trying to make it different. I enjoyed the rated R aspects of it. Some people are saying it was too gross, too graphic. I don't think so. Yes, towards the end, there are some people legitimately getting eviscerated. Okay, straight up, this is not a movie for kids, especially towards the end. When Hellboy, becomes the king, if you will, of hell, and is bringing on the apocalypse, you see some things, and he's ushering some demons from hell that are literally ripping people from, they're grabbing them by the legs and ripping them in half. And for some people, that's not cool. Some people don't like that type of stuff. Again, me and my wife were eating, so maybe we're just psychopaths. I don't know, but it didn't bother me at all. I was entertained by it. I liked it. There were some really cool scenes, if you will, some shots and cinematography scenes in this part of the film, and the CGI was spent well here. Again, it just fluctuates all over the place. There's like a point in the movie, in the middle of the movie, where he's trying to help some people, and these people just straight up turn on him. And again, they have some just cause, because they want to make sure that the apocalypse doesn't happen. But he's giving you no reason to do so, so you're just being a dick at this point, trying to hurt him. But overall, guys, again, I did find some enjoyment of it. I do wish that I had gone and seen it, maybe tomorrow afternoon opposed to this evening with my wife. This way it would have been a little cheaper on the pocket. But I would say, guys, this is really up for debate. It's not as bad as people are making it out to be. It's honestly not as bad as I've probably made it out to be. In terms of being more authentic to the comic, I really don't think so. I just don't think so. I think the relationship between Hellboy and his father don't really work too well. They're fine and you get it. You just, part of you, if you've seen the last movies, rely on the fillers from that movie to kind of compensate for this movie. And this movie should be allowed to stand on its own merits, and it's just so hard to do so. Now, there's one really good thing about this film, and again, the old movies tried it, but they didn't go so heavily with it. So, in this movie, Hellboy has finally gotten to the point where he's like, all these years, I've been essentially killing my brothers and sisters, and I have been allowed the opportunity to prove myself to be good. Okay? Why don't we do the same for these monsters, these creatures? Why are they just condemned for the sake of being bad? They touch on it, but they don't really go too far with it. They go a lot more further than any of the previous Hellboys did. But again, there's something there, and I think they could have made a lot more with it. And who knows, maybe there was a lot more with it, but due to budget costs or editing or whatever the case may be. Maybe it was left on the editing room floor. I don't know. But if they would have rolled with that a lot more, I think there would have been a really uniqueness to this film that separated a lot more from the original movie. And it just came up a little short, but it had a great concept. So I guess what I'm saying is this movie, in concept, is a fantastic movie, but in execution, it comes just under, just under average, if you will. Anyway, guys, so this is the part of the video where I'm going to go ahead and give you the reviews on what everyone's saying, whether you trust them, like them, or not, and then I'll give you our review, our actual score, if you will. So Rotten Tomatoes has this at a 15%, and the audience has it at a 65%. Metacritic 31, and the audience is a 4.6. Me, I would give it literally just making it by one fraction of a point out of 3 if you're seeing it at a matinee. If you're going and paying a full price for a movie on this, this is definitely in the 2 to 2.5 range. Again, maybe I just have a soft spot for Hellboy and for superhero movies in my heart, where I'm giving it a pass. I'm just trying to be honest with you guys, but I did enjoy it a lot more than what everybody seems to have said about this film. I literally was going in it thinking it was going to be a complete train wreck, and I was going to tell you guys, stay away. And now I'm just like, guys, it's not bad. They set some things up. There's 2 end credit scenes, a mid credit and a complete end credit scene. There's some prosthetics that are really just... Alright, so there's this witch with some peg legs. And she looks great. She looks fucking phenomenal. And then she starts doing this spider crawl and at this attacking and fighting in this form. And the contortionist that they have in this body cast or this mocap, fantastic job. It's one of the best scenes of the whole film. But the design for this witch, if you will. I'm not trying to be a pig here or anything, guys, but me and my wife both caught on to it. It was just shocking to all hell. Okay, so you can see she's got a lower cut dress. Like, they don't show her boobs or anything like that, but the chest piece shows that she does have, because she's an old wicked witch, if you will, saggy boobs, right? So then when she were to go into this spider form, gravity would either take effect to where they would flop this way or flop that way. But because it's literally a prosthetic, when she bends over, they're literally sticking up like so, like Mickey Mouse ears almost. And it's just like, do they not understand how gravity and I use this term loosely, human body and anatomy works? So it's just like, what? Like, I don't know. Me and my wife, we watch Face Off, and I know if in Face Off they were to create a body cast, a body mold like that, and that person went into this contortions position, and those, boobs didn't work with gravity, they would have literally killed them. They would have trashed them. They would have reamed them a new one, to be honest with you guys. So there's little things like that just so jarring that you're just like, what? And real big spoiler alert, real quick, guys. The very end of the movie, if you sit through all the credits, you're led on to believe that 2 minor characters in this whole film, okay, is the reason for this film. Like, they are the 2 that set everything up, and they play minor characters, so maybe there's something more and bigger planned for them if there's a second installment. I can only assume this movie's going to make a profit. I was talking to the manager of the theater. He says it's been doing really well. I haven't seen any numbers, but I don't know. Part of me says it will, part of me says it won't. The part that says it will is because usually horror movies tend to do relatively well because their budget is really low, and they usually make enough to consider itself a success. So I think that might happen here. And I will say the mid-credit scene alert, lets us see that Ape Sapien might be in the sequel. So that's good enough reason for me to maybe check out what they might have in store for us next. So guys, again, sorry for the long-winded review. There's a lot more to this film than just good or bad, I think. I think it's somewhere in the middle, maybe just below the middle. But I think you can have a good time with it, guys. So let us know in the comments below. Did you like it? Did you see it? Did you think it was good? Did you think it was badass? Did you absolutely hate it? Did you prefer the originals? Or are you just sticking to the comics from here on out? Let us know in the comments below, guys. Go ahead and give that like button. Right hand of doom smash for us. Hit that like button if you like what we're doing here, guys. don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Click that notification bell so you're part of the notification squad, so every time we drop a video, you know when you're a part of the universe and can chat along with us, guys. And until next time, I'm C-Dubs, and I'll see you in the universe. Peace.